and what the plan is, Mike, and we can talk about the process of going snow kiting and what that involves, so everybody has that in mind.
Yeah, so I'll just I'll share my screen and show you a few pictures. This is the lodge that we're staying at. So there's a summer and a winter photo there, obviously. Can you guys see that?
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what the resort looks like in the winter, and it's basically a shared kitchen. We're going to have a person to cook for us, so there'll be just really, I don't know, you won't really need to use the kitchen much, and you'll be out here. There's the kitchen over on the left of that picture, but this is the dining area. And that's sort of just behind the dining area, just a bit of a sit around place. There's a bit of a study getaway room upstairs. You can see the view outside of the lodge, and this is a typical room. So some rooms, they all have an ensuite, but some rooms have 3 beds or 2 beds, or just this one on the right hand here, just a double or a queen, much like any other hotel room really. And then this is the downstairs area where you take your boots off. This is the foyer on the left here. So leave your skis and snowboards against the wall, then you go through that door and you come into this room that's on the right. And those 2 doors, one's the toilet, one's the drying room, the other one leads upstairs. So there's just that basic room there's the drying room, basic room to get your gear on. Then there's a bit of a games room. So the lodge has 2 wings. We've got one entire wing booked out for us, and then we've got this games room in between the 2 wings. And then there's a laundry and there's a food store as well, which you probably won't need to use. And then I found this amazing video that Jennie made a few years back. I'm just going to fast forward to some of the really specky footage of the mountain range where we're going. So this is the Australian main range. And you can see it's kind of beautiful. It's a national park, Koziousko National Park, and it's a pretty special place. There's Mount Koziousko there with the big cornice. But that's Jennie coming down, probably Ram's Head, I think. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a really special place to be out there in our main range, in a quite wild national park, and so easily accessible from our lodge. So that lodge where we're staying is about a 5-minute chairlift ride or a 20-minute walk. And then up at this level where all this footage is taken, and it's kind of flat riding out to get to most of this terrain. It's undulating mountains. It's not like the European Alps that are very steep. It's a kind of a plateau mountain range. That's a good shot of it. You kind of get a feel for what the mountains are like with that photo. It's quite undulating, and the wind is relatively smooth and predictable. But Jennie's going to go through a lot of sort of wind anticipation and understanding and turbulence and how it flows around these mountains, as well as a avalanche training course. And then we're going to talk about a lot of kite gear and equipment. You have a chance to use different kites. And then we'll be doing what you see in this photo, hopefully. If there's beginner entry-level kiters, which I don't think they'll be too entry-level, but there might be some people who aren't super confident with their kite skills. We'll do some training, and we'll find a nice open place like this, and you can just play. So that is hopefully a bit of an overview of the week. So I'll just pause that video there. And you can see just to the left of Jennie's kite is Mount Koziousko, and there's a big cornice there. That's the highest mountain in Australia. And technically, we're not supposed to be up there. There's lots of other mountains that we can summit and get around on. And the idea is we're just going to figure out which way the wind's blowing, where the best snow conditions are, and who we've got in our group, and what the best approach for each day is. So we don't really have a specific itinerary on where we're going to snow kite. It's very much a weather dependent, snow condition and group ability kind of dependent activity. And so, we're going to make it up as we go, but we're very experienced at doing that. We've got 7 days. We're going to have 4 days in the backcountry. And then we've got the speedriding course for 2, and then another day to either ride the resorts or get in and out of the resort. So I'll just come across to another page here. This is the Charlotte Pass Snow Resort. And they've got these vehicles that bring you from Perisher. So the way to get there is to drive to Bullock's Flat on the Alpine Way, which is the road going up to Thredbo from Jindabyne. Park at Bullock's Flat, which is a big car park. Get in a train that goes up through the mountain to Perisher, and then at that train station at Perisher, you get in one of these vehicles, and they take you through to Charlotte's Pass, which is about, I think it's about 10 kilometers up the valley from Perisher. And
20 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, you get in
25 minutes, yeah, depending which vehicle.
This photo was probably taken in the base of Charlotte's Pass, and yeah, that's the Charlotte's Pass Lodge, that photo.
Can I ask a quick question about those oversnows? Because how are they with having lots of gear? You know, have they seen kiters when they turn up with, you know, a dozen kites?
Yeah,
and
that's a
lots
good
of
question.
bags
So they're pretty strict on paper. That you're only allowed 2 bags, I think, and it's always a little bit of a juggle. I've found that they're generally a little bit relaxed when you actually get there, much more relaxed than what they say on their website and in the ticketing process. But if you have an extra bag, they'll probably let it on. Everybody who comes to the resort for a week generally carries a fairly big box of food as well, which you guys won't need to do.
No.
And if you do have an extra bag and you want to take a bit of extra gear, I think it's $5 or $10 for an extra bag. So it's all manageable.
They never charged us. Like it's really, as you've said, it's like you are like so scared, you know, when you rock up there and you try to squeeze everything in one bag and stuff. And then the operational staff is super nice and helpful, and also heaps more flexible in terms of booking times. So you might not be able to book a specific time online or on the phone, and then you rock up, and then all of a sudden the 8 o'clock spot is open, you know, and you can hop on that one.
So one of the big benefits of the Charlotte Pass Resort, actually, while I'm just going to play this video for you. This is a video of Charlotte Pass, and I'll just play that while I'm talking. I don't know. Can you hear that audio?
Yep.
Okay, I'll turn it right down. So this is the train. This is the road up to the resort. It's a fairly friendly, family-friendly kind of resort. It's not huge mountains, but it's really nice, and it's the highest village in Australia, highest resort. So, there's my phone. That's a good shot of the resort. So these are all the lodges down here, center screen. There's the valley coming from Perisher, and then that's the main lift, and there's another lift going up that hill on the left. And that's pretty much the whole resort. It's just that little bowl that you can see. On the right, out of screen, there's some ski runs down to the right. But pretty much where this image is taken from, directly behind us is the Australian main range, which will probably come up in a picture in a minute. And yeah, it's just a easy, comfortable resort. It's not radical skiing, big steeps and that sort of thing, but it's fun and it's uncrowded and it's fantastic for families, and it's fantastic for backcountry access, which is really what we want on this trip. And the other really nice thing about it is the lodge. It's a pretty friendly lodge and easy to get in and out of, and it's just a really good holiday, I've found. So looking forward to it. And then what else is probably important to say? Yeah, your kite ability. Kiting, we're hoping that we don't have any very first timer kiters. We want people with some kite skills, intermediate ski and intermediate kite skills. So being able to water start, track along, do a turn, on water is probably the minimum kite level.
But, you know, Mike, that being said, you know, if there's somebody who's maybe had 1 or 2 kite lessons and they love it and they're passionate about it, but they, you know, they feel like maybe they're lacking confidence to be at that level, I'm very happy to take someone. If they've got the passion, the desire to learn, then I will get them going. I've had 153 snow kite lessons in the last 4 months. And gotten everybody up and going, you know, even if they've never flown a kite before. And that's a great thing about snow kiting, is that it's so much easier to learn than on water. You're not sinking. You don't have to be able to water start. There's no sharks. You're not going to get wet, you know.
You don't need to be so powered up, do you?
You might get wet.
You can.
You don't need to be as powered up, but I really find that learning on snow is the easiest way to learn, and it'll improve your water kiting. And if somebody is still struggling to, you know, stay upwind on water, they come out snow kiting, and we already know how to ski and snowboard, and we have metal edges. Those edges allow us to really hold that edge and to go upwind, and those skills are going to transfer back to water again. So, you know, if someone's coming with a family and there's a family member in there who maybe hasn't flown kites before, I can get them going on a trainer kite. You know, it's not everybody has to be an advanced great kiter. They've just got to be passionate about it and want to do it, and you know, ready to make the effort to make that happen, which I'd like to talk about when you're ready, Mike.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, this is the view from the top of the lift. This is the resort manager talking to Channel 7 or something. And this is the view from the top of the lift. This is the terrain that we can access very easily. It's get off the chair and go downhill to what you're seeing there. So it's pretty amazing for snow kiting. And yeah, I think I'll let you keep talking, Jenny, because you've got something to say and I don't really. I just want to show you this video. And
yeah, I think, you know, let me just take you through, you know, what a day of snow kiting entails. You know, it entails getting ready with all our gear on as we're ready to go skiing or snowboarding. It entails, you know, us having a good backpack that we can put our kite gear in, our, you know, anything extra layers we need to take with us, our lunch, our water, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes, you know, we might want to take 2 kites with us just in case the wind forecast changes or it's hard to decide what size to take. So you might have a really big backpack. And so it's really important that you have a good backpack that has a waist strap and a chest strap on it, so that when we're hiking, the pack's not rocking around and making you lose balance. That's going to take a lot more energy. So if you're on a snowboard, the easiest option is just to rent some snowshoes. That's it doesn't cost too much to get some snowshoes. You'll put them, snowshoes are like tennis rackets, right? Those old-fashioned tennis rackets, and you'll just use your snowboard boots in the snowshoes and then strap them on, and it allows you to walk in the snow a lot easier rather than sinking through, right? If you've got the money and you really want to learn how to splitboard, do it. This is your chance. Rent a splitboard, take it up there, you know, drain me of all my knowledge. And, you know, if you guys don't know me, I've been skiing since I was 3. My mum and dad had a ski shop from when I was born, and so I grew up in the ski industry, so very knowledgeable in equipment. I've worked for Vocal, Marca Del Bello. I was the rep for Dynafit bindings. So I'm happy to talk backcountry gear and ski gear, snowboards, splitboards, that sort of thing. I was a ski instructor, the youngest ski instructor in Australia at the age of 14. So when I'm out there, I'm very happy to give you some tips on your skiing, which Chris pointed out is so important to keep working on our ski skills. I was also a snowboarder for 12 years, and I had my own snowboard shop in Canberra. I was the biggest snowboard Burton dealer in Australia for many years, so I snowboard also, and can help with that. Over the last, I don't know, 10-12 years, I've become a backcountry guide. My husband is a heli ski guide in Alaska, so for the past 17 years I spend 3 months every year in Alaska, and have worked on, you know, my avalanche training, guiding, keeping people safe in the mountains pretty much, and having a great time out there. So once we've got all our gear on, then I'm not sure. Mike can probably answer this question. Mike, are we going to take the chairlift up, or are we going to hike that 20 minutes?
I don't know. So the lift pass situation is that it's about if you get a week pass, there's different ski lift packages with the over snow, and if you get a week pass or a 3-day pass or day passes, it's all different, slightly different prices, but it's about $80 a day. And if we're out in the backcountry, I guess we won't be using the lifts, so it's a bit of a waste of money, perhaps.
Unless they have a backcountry pass like Threadbow does, that allows you just to use the chairlift once to get to the top, and then you can hike from there.
Yeah, that's right. And I still need to contact Charlotte Pass about that. Do they have just a single ride ticket? I haven't seen it on their website. I think that would be a pretty common thing for the people in the resort to want, because a lot of the people who stay in lodges and members of the ski clubs who have lodges there, they do it for the backcountry, and so I suspect it's a common thing, and it's probably something that's going to be quite easy for us to solve. But if not, we need to decide: do we want to get a day pass or hike? And I would probably choose to hike because it's not very far, but each to their own, I think.
Yeah, so we've got about a 20-minute hike to the top, which is fine. And then I'm guessing we're probably going to have another 20 minutes out to our launch spot. Is that right, out of Charlotte's there? I do most of my snow kite lessons out of Threadbow. So I haven't, I'm just a little bit unfamiliar with how far you want to hike to get into the wind flow.
Well, the wind flow is actually right at the top of the chair. It's just really a case of getting far enough away from the resort that's safe and sensible, and we're not in other people's way. And it's actually kind of cross the fall line downhill to do that. And it's not really very far at all. It's not a hike so much as a sort of traverse.
Right. Okay.
And it's pretty easy, really. Yeah. So
as everyone can hear, there is hiking involved, right? Okay, and don't be scared off by the hiking, right? With snowshoes, it's not too bad. With a split board or with ski touring gear, so I'm a skier. I'm going to have touring bindings on my skis, and I'm going to use skins on the bottom. And skins are like, carpet that has, fibers that go in one direction, so that I can ski up the mountain. I can go up, but I'm not going to slide back down, and spitboards do the same thing. And I've got some really cool techniques to show you guys of how to make your hiking so much easier. I swear, I bet you I can make it about 40% easier than the last time you went hiking out there. With some of these tips, right?
If you're going to do the snow kiting with us, it's important that we have this. I don't know if you can see my cursor on the screen, but I'm trying to highlight this. That Avi pack, we're going to have an Avalanche course. This is the price list for hire from Harrow's Snow Sports, which is down at the car park before you get on the ski tube. And if you haven't got your ski touring gear, this one here with the skins and the boots is $260 for 7 days. And then the Avi pack is another $115. That's a beacon, the shovel and the probe. So that's an important cost to be aware of. It's not included in the package, which is because some people don't need that stuff. They've got their own already. So that's something you'll need to
One of the things to be aware of is that Harrows has awesome gear. He's like an importer and distributor of Kessley skis and a bunch of other brands. And so all of his ski touring gear is like the latest models, the latest bindings. It's really good. There's a couple of other places that rent backcountry gear that has very, very old-fashioned gear. And unfortunately, I have people come out with me, and I have problems with some of that old gear. So, this is a really great place to rent gear from. Harrow normally does us a great deal. I'll make sure that if you mention you're on this trip, you might get a discount. Let me work on that for you. but because it's great gear to get from Harrods, and he can help you with the snowshoes if you're a snowboarder, the ski touring gear, your Avi packing gear. And that being said, yes, I want everyone to have Avi gear because it's really important skills if you're out in the backcountry to start to learn. You know, snow kiting is really a combination of 3 sports. It's a combination of flying a kite. It's a combination of skiing and snowboarding. And it's also a combination of backcountry safety and skills. And if you haven't done any backcountry before, we need to learn some backcountry skills. You know, what are the dangers out there? What are the red flags we need to be aware of? When we're snow kiting, we can cover so much ground. And, you know, every cornice looks like a big wave that I just want to slash on. And unless you have the skills to be able to analyze that cornice and know whether it's going to hold or whether it's going to give way, all of a sudden our fun, safe sport can become dangerous if you don't know the dangers to be looking for out there. In September, we can have creeks breaking through and some holes turning up. We can have, you know, warming in the snowpack and start having some wet slides. We can start having some, you know, cornices give way and things like that. So I'm not running a full avalanche course that you're going to be certified out there. Those take days to get through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you the really important skills that you need to know as a basic backcountry enthusiast and also as a snow kiter, the really important things we need to be looking for when we're moving high speed to make sure that we stay safe and out of danger. And the skills that I'm going to teach you in terms of looking at the snowpack and understanding how the snowpack forms in its layers, how cornices are formed. Wind is a huge ingredient. And I mean, we're all wind lovers. That's why we love wings and kites, right? I love wind. I mean, we can look at, when I look at this photo, I can see the wind direction. Can you guys look at that photo and actually know what is the predominant wind direction? What is the most common wind direction? Just by looking at a photo, I can actually tell that. Any ideas what we're looking at to tell what the direction the wind mostly comes from? Anyone?
The ridge of snow on the left. At the
yeah,
back.
Nice, Simon. That's called a cornice. Yes, and it's formed by the wind blowing over that ridge and the snow building up, right? On the leeward side. One side of the ridge is going to be scoured from the wind. The other is going to be loaded from the wind, and that snow is going to be deeper, thicker, more layered. And you know, that is something to be aware of. There's
so we hope, like, at the end of this week, you can feel a bit more knowledgeable and skillful and confident about picking your terrain, and even simple things like getting across a creek is actually really dangerous in springtime. That the snow's melting and there's a lot of water flow underneath, and if you choose the wrong spot and fall through, well, it's quite a life-threatening situation in the backcountry.
But that's why
and get sucked under the snow, and that's not very pleasant.
That's why this trip is so fantastic, because you're going out with qualified guides and instructors that are going to, you know, show you the right way to do it, show you the right places to go. And my goal is always to get people self-sufficient out there. I want to see you self-launching, self-landing, knowing how to anchor your kite, so that we can give you the skills in this week so that you can go and do it again, you know, confidently with a partner, of course, or take us with you again. But, you know, it's all about being safe and self-sufficient out there. The other thing I'd like to talk about, we've talked a bit about, you know, the hiking and getting out there, and then we're going to set up our kite. Most of us are going to be using inflatable kites. We're all kite surfers, right? And it's one of the most common questions I get is, oh my God, I don't have a foil kite. Am I going to be okay using an inflatable kite? Yes, you are. This is actually a promotional video for Ozone kites, and I was using foil kites in the backcountry. Most of the time, 90% of the time, I'm actually using my inflatable kites out there. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why when we're out there. But there's a lot of advantages of using inflatables on the snow, as long as you know all the safety about using inflatables. A lot of it's about anchoring. We're going to get out there, we're going to pump up our kites, and I'm going to show you how to anchor your kite so it doesn't, you know, blow away. And there's about 4 or 5 different anchoring methods we need to know out there, depending on the density of the snow. You know, if it's powder snow, light and dry, no matter how much we shovel on top of our kite, it doesn't have any weight to hold our kite down. You know, some days the snow's so hard, I can't get my shovel in there to make an anchor. And so there's a bunch of different methods we can learn to anchor our kite safely. I think it's really important that everyone feels really comfortable self-launching and landing. And if that's something you haven't done a lot of, well, this is going to be a chance to learn those skills. You'll be the best person at the beach with those skills, because at snow kiting, we have to learn how to self-launch and land, because if you crash your kite and you're away from the group, who's going to help you? Right, we need to be self-sufficient out there. So we'll cover those. Then we're gonna you know, cruise around and work on transitions. Transitions is something, you know, we're all practicing on water and having different ways of transitioning on water. Well, there's lots of ways to transition on snow also, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But one of the best, funnest things about snow kiting is we can actually go up the mountain, right? And that's something that most people are super excited to learn as a water kiter. How can I go up the mountain and get towed up the mountain, so then I can get ski runs coming down? Look, perfect photo for our call. Look, that's my buddies Johan Seville and Chester and those guys in Europe. They have excellent terrain for going up riding up the mountain and then skiing back down. And we actually have a couple of places in the snowy mountains near Koziousko. Ram's Head is a great one, that if we have the right wind direction, we can kite up and ski down, kite up and ski down. So all of a sudden we're getting multiple ski laps. It's like having your own ski lift. There's many different styles of snow kiting. This is my favorite, is actually using the kite to get me up the mountain, so I can get lots of ski turns coming down. And so we're going to learn some of that. Down looping. Down looping is something that some people are comfortable with. A lot of people are still afraid of down looping, but as you can see here in the video, down looping is a skill that we need to use to actually get pulled up the mountain. It creates extra power because it has to pull our body weight up the mountain. So although if we're just cruising around the flats and traversing around, we don't need as big a kite because we have less friction. But if we're wanting to go up the mountain, we definitely need a bigger kite, or we need to be able to down loop it to create more power to tow us up the mountain. And then you've got the choice of either, you know, packing it up at the top like these guys are going to do. These guys have got the Ozone, you know, 5-line safety system, which I've got some single skin Explores that you guys can try. If you've never tried this system, have a go on my kites, use it, pull the safety. It's amazing when you pull your safety and it just flags out on that one line and you can pull it back towards yourself. I use inflatables a lot of the time, and I actually love getting to the top and then actually letting it park and letting it drift down the line so I can get ski turns. And I might do the top 20 turns, and they were the best ones on the mountain, and I'll turn around and do them again. Whereas the guys with the foils who packed them up, they get one run. So there's pros and cons about all the kites, but you know what? Every single kite works on snow. So no matter what model you've got, what size you've got, bring it along, and if we have the right wind speed for that size, we're going to be able to get them working. Even beginners can actually get going on a trainer kite with their skis and snowboard on. They've never flown a kite before, and within 2 hours I get people flying the kite with their skis and snowboard on and getting towed with a trainer. And it's so easy, just like go to the bar and it falls out of the sky. You know, you're not attached with the chicken loop. So, you know, no matter what your standard, whether you're coming by yourself or with your family or your partner, this week sounds so awesome. I mean, to be able to go snow kiting for 4 days, speed riding for a couple of days, and that's what I'll be doing if there's no wind. And also learning all these backcountry skills as well, which is something, if you're into skiing, it's some of the best skiing you can have is getting outside the resort and getting fresh untracked lines. And you know, if you're like me and into traveling, and I'm into going to Alaska and finding big mountains and fresh snow, and if the kite can get me up there, well, fantastic. So
there's another really good bit of information that's just come about, is the the New South Wales government COVID restrictions meant we were very limited to the number of people that could be in the resort, in the lodge, sorry. And that has been lifted a little bit. I don't know if that will remain with this latest little crisis in Victoria, but the restrictions were down to about 16 people in the wing of the lodge, and now they're up to 26, which means we don't have more capacity for our backcountry adventure. We're still limited to six people per guide, which is me and Jennie. So there's 12 in total. However, there's 26 people allowed in the lodge. So that means people can bring their nieces and nephews or kids or wives and friends. So if they did want to just have a week in the snow, then there's capacity, which is quite rare because, as you can imagine, it's a little bit hard to get into on snow accommodation this season with it all being restricted like that, and all the members of these lodges wanting to get it for themselves. So it's a little bit of an opportunity to have a snow holiday with on snow accommodation and not being a member of a lodge. So it's a little bit good news there. If you've got friends and family who want to come, there is capacity now.
Just to let you know, Mike, I do apologize, but my battery on my computer is getting low, and I would have to turn on my generator. I'm here in an RV at the beach, so you may not hear me. Right. So I've only got a few more minutes left. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question about kite sizes. I mean, I've got 6 kites. What is the ideal kite size to bring?
All 6.
All 6. All right.
Yeah, well, you've got peaks, don't you? Like the fly surface?
I don't. I've got an 8-meter fly surface sole, 11-meter sonic, 15-meter sonic, 7-meter bandit inflatable, 10-meter bandit inflatable. Sorry, I've got 5 kites.
Probably just bring your fly surface. That would cover the range.
So is the 8 going to be small enough?
I would, if I was you, sorry to interrupt, Mike, and this is just me, if it's high wind, if it's really, really high wind, the inflatables are super nice, like to bring maybe your 7, just in case we have high wind, but then bring your, all of your foil kites in the bigger sizes. If it's light wind, they'll be perfect. Including
the 15? I mean, that's a pretty big kite.
Yeah, including your 15, unless you're super keen on speed riding. Right,
I'd love to do that, but I'm not a good skier. As I said, I haven't skied for 20 years, so I'm not convinced that I have the... I'd have to try skiing down a couple of slopes just to remind myself.
Right. You'll be fine. You'd be surprised. Same as Jennie, I snowboarded. Like I learned skiing when I was 2 or 3, and then I got pulled into snowboarding, and I was snowboarding, and then I got back into backcountry and mountain, like winter mountaineering, which brought me back onto skis. And I was surprised, it takes, I don't know, it didn't take 5 minutes, to feel it back. It's just the jump. The jumping was a bit awkward, for the first, I don't know, half an hour, but then it was fine again. And yeah.
All right. I'd love to give that
really good.
Well, that's the other question I was going to say.
Yeah.
If I've got all my own snowboarding gear with 2 boards and all that sort of stuff, and I don't have any ski gear. So if halfway through the trip we decide to go and do some speed riding, is there any way of hiring gear once we're up at Charlotte's Pass, or do we have to go all the way back down again?
You can hire gear at Charlotte's Pass, and it's a bit more expensive than off mountain hire, but it's still possible. So yeah, the answer is yes.
Because I might have to do that, because I mean, unless I hire ski gear for the whole 7 days and just not use it, but I can't see that's going to be a good option.
Yeah.
Yeah, Simon, I never like telling people this, but most people that turn up to Snow Kite with a snowboard, if they can do both, they end up choosing skis.
Yeah, I was told by someone that they would, that someone, he started with a snowboard and he didn't like it very much, got onto skis, and it was just brilliant. So that is something that I'm bearing in mind as well. But my ski skills are average. My snowboard skills are pretty good, but the ski skills are definitely not. I can do any black run on a snowboard.
Yep.
Not the double blacks in Canada, they're a bit harder, but skiing, I'm really stuck to blue runs.
It's, you know, it's up to you. If you've got the budget, you know, if I was you, I would, you've already got 2 snowboards, you said.
Yeah.
Just bring one and hire a pair of touring skis at Harrows, and then you would have the option of both during your weeks. And if we have bad weather and you've got time to ski in the resort, you can work on your ski skills. You know, it would just give you all options.
Yeah. And what sort of boards do we need? Stiff boards, curved boards, reverse camber boards? What's the best board to use?
You know, that's a question that is dependent on snow conditions, and I don't know what the snow conditions are going to be like. Normally, I tell people go with what you're used to. The more used, you know, like the more comfortable you are with your gear, the better. If it's soft, you know, in the spring, I'm hoping we've got spring corn snow, because then it's, you know, firm in the morning for hiking, making it easy, and then it softens up and we get beautiful soft snow for leaving tracks in the afternoon. And in that case, you know, I would just go just a normal resort board. If you've got you know, reverse camber is awesome. If you're over here in the States with me and we've got, like, you know, knee deep powder, I would say reverse camber. But in Australia, you know, chances are we've probably got a firmer surface rather than waist deep powder.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I found with the question of skiing versus snowboarding, they're both fantastic. I wouldn't say one's better than the other, but a snowboard is a lot more like a twin tip kite board. And if you've got a little quarter pipe or just a little space to play in, then the snowboard is really good fun, and it feels like you're kiting.
Yeah, it does.
But if you're touring and you've got somewhere to go and you want to get up that mountain, or, you know, go on a bit of a distance trek, then the skis are where it's at, because they're just so much more comfortable. It's easier to balance. You can just move one foot across if you get off balance, whereas with the snowboard, you're probably going to end up on your knees or your butt.
Great way of putting it, Mike. Well done. That was a great way of putting it.
I kind of like the skis for getting around, and the snowboard for just jibbing and playing. But you can't really get the best of both worlds, but they are both fun. So, yeah.
Hey, Mike, you're on a snowboard, aren't you, Mike?
Not this year. I have been on a snowboard for the last 5 or 6 years, but I've just bought a new pair of skis and skins and bindings to tour with, and I'm back on the dark side.
Yeah. The other thing about using the split board, Chris, can Simon use a split board? Like, I've got friends using split board speed flying in Alaska. Can Simon learn on a split board?
It's all about the edge pressure, you know, like applying pressure to the edge and using it properly, and drifting and controlling the energy in the wing. And the boots might be too soft, depending on what bindings you use.
Downhill speed riding on a split board designed to go uphill walking.
I prefer
my friends do it all the time.
I prefer. Yeah, no, look, if you can, like, if you are already in the sport, yeah, sure, you know. But if you are learning, not really. I wouldn't do it, you know. Yeah, it's like a little bit too hang loose, you know.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my limitation. I'm handy with a kite, but not with skis. So I'd probably prefer to have the proper real McCoy skis rather than a compromise with a split board on the speed runs.
Yeah, and it's and as Mike said, it's super easy at Charlotte's Pass. Just grab a pair of skis. They have the boots. You grab it for a day. Probably it's like $45, or, you know, and then you can try it out. And if you don't like it, you get back to the snowboard. Super easy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've put together a bit of a spreadsheet where I can help people figure out the cost of the trip. So there's different versions of hiring equipment, as we've just seen from Harrows with the Avi Pack or the backcountry gear, or whether you need that or not. Then there's the cost of the train ride up, which is different for adults and children of different ages. And then you've got different ski pass options at Charlotte Pass with the over snow transport. And then you've got the package of what we're providing, which is the accommodation and backcountry kite, Snow Kite and Avalanche course, and the speed riding options. And then there's accommodation for people who aren't doing that stuff. If you've got the kids or partners coming to just stay in the resort, in the lodge with you and go lift riding in the day, then there's that option as well. So it's not very easy for me to just say how much it's going to cost. It depends on how you want to build your holiday. So we're sort of acting as a bit of a travel agent this week and taking bookings this week. So encourage you to get in touch with me directly, individually, and tell me what you want. We'll have a discussion, and I can easily put the numbers in. There's one adult here and 3 children there, and this person doesn't need a lift pass and that one does, and all this sort of stuff. And I'll just be able to give you a bit of a holiday price that you can expect to have. And then, yeah, we can take it from there. So
are you going to email us the list
of prices?
Yeah.
Well, I can. It's a little bit complicated. It's probably easier to sort of customize it for you and
Fair
what
enough.
you want. But
Yeah.
It's a little bit complicated to understand, and the various options and how they interplay with each other, like the ski pass with the over snow or not getting that. And
that's fine.
Yeah.
And how? So if we're going to bring family members, what Charlotte's Pass has a reputation for being a family place. Is it still a good place to have a ski holiday if you're a reasonably good boarder?
Yes.
Well, it is. It's great, but it depends what kind of ski holiday you want. So when I was a younger version of myself, I'd go to places like Chamonix or Alaska, or I'd try to find the steepest, gnarliest place I could go to make sure there's always that exhilaration. But that wouldn't be Charlotte's Pass. No. That said, there's still some nice tight lines through trees and, rock drops and good places to go. And now it's my place of choice because it's got the backcountry as well. Plus my 5-year-old can have a good time there. She won't be there this week, but yeah, so it's got a little bit of everything.
So if you do a day on the slopes at Charlotte's Pass, you're still having fun there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I go there for a week with my friends and we have a good time for sure.
Hey, you guys, I'm at 1%, so I'm just going to say goodbye in case I lose it. And
thanks, Jenny.
All right, bye, Jenny.
If anyone has questions, please feel free to message me, email me, or in our group on Facebook, post, and I'm happy to answer your questions for you. And I look forward to seeing you all in Charlotte's Pass for some snow kiting.
Great,
excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jen.
Perfect. Bye.
Get back out there.
Thanks, you guys. I'm going to catch some waves.
Awesome.
Nothing better than having a Zoom call full of kiters because we're all just so stoked on life and weather and stuff like that. Hey, Chris, have you been snow kiting before?
Yes, I did, but for me, like as much as I love kite surfing, windsurfing used to be my life, and then so many years ago I transitioned into kite surfing. And then of course that leads to snow kiting, but I've been flying canopies from 19 years onwards, from when I was 19 years. And cool. Friends of mine started speed riding, and that got me into speed riding and speed flying. And then I discovered the freedom you can get, and as I've said, as much as I love kiting, the snow kiting is great, but it has its limitations as soon as you start flying. Yeah, I know that there are some people, and I've been snow kite flying, in Chile, like some crazy little mountains or high mountains off, but it's the speed riding gives you a different perspective because you can use the wing in the same way as you use a kite, you know, to kite when it's really windy.
Yeah, that
but
had
then
me
when you
fascinated
fly,
when you told me that.
you're just flying a proper canopy.
You can kind of,
what's that?
You can use your speed riding canopy as a land-based going upwind, uphill type thing, and then turn around and go downhill with the canopy on.
And it's just amazing because the technology of the wings has so progressed that someone who just skis next to you and you are up with your canopy, you are as fast as that person because the wings are so steeply trimmed. And it's just such a fascinating sport.
That reminds me, one of my favorite sessions. I've got a handful of favorite sessions, and one of them I was up in Alaska with a guy called Yuli. And Yuli, they call him the godfather of speed flying. He's been, he was an Olympic snowboarder and incredible speed flyer. And so one day he and I were out there, and I had a 7 meter inflatable best kite, I think, and he had a 7 meter speed flying wing, and we both ascended up the mountain about 2,500 feet to the top. And when we got to the top, he turned around and flew down, and I turned around the top and left tracks coming down. So, there's pleasure in both sports. For some people aren't into flying, and that's one of the great things about snow kiting is that most of the time it's a ground-based sport. And yes, we can jump like we do on the water, and yes, you can learn to glide, forward glide, reverse glide, and things like that. If you have the right location, the right wind, the right surface, there's quite a few things that need to line up. I do think that speed flying is an incredible addition if you're into flying wings and you want to get in the air. It's definitely a safer way to be in the air than using our kites. And unless you have rigged your kite as a kite that's set up to glide. I have a lot of friends over here in the States, and they build their own bars. They put on stronger lines. They put on, they eliminate the chicken loop. They strengthen it to make sure that it's a much safer way of flying. But
so lots of people believe speed flying obviously is just about speed flying. Yeah. So you foot launch. But then speed riding is skiing, and that's where the French who came up with the sport, they pushed the sport. It's it's staying on the ground, because staying on the ground means you're in control of the wing, and you determine when you are taking off, and you are also determine where you want to land it. And for that, we teach people the riding, and the flying is a whole different thing. And you can fly very safe, just straight forward and do a 90-degree turn and land. But the riding is the most important thing to learn in the beginning. And from there, you go into the flying. And that's what has changed, because when I learned speed riding, it was basically just launching a wing, taking off, flying as close and as fast to the mountain and off the mountain, and then landing it in a crazy way with a swoop, and that has changed. And it's more staying on the ground and using and flying as well, of course, but it's both. Yeah.
It sounds much more sensible.
Yeah.
So
that's the natural development of the sport, and it's still, as we all know, it's still a very super niche sport, but I think it's such an appealing sport to us as people, like kite surfers who are also fascinated by winter sports. And it doesn't, it's not that it takes snow kiting away. It's just a different thing, as wing foiling doesn't take away kite surfing. It's just a fascinating addition to it.
Yeah, that's what appeals to me, the option to go. And I think it's something that people who are not familiar with sports that have pieces of equipment and a little bit of faff around to get going, they might look at it and go, oh, you know, I just want to get to the top of the lift and go down again.
Yeah.
But people like us who are, you know, prepared to pump up kites and connect lines and untangle lines and screw our foils together and muck around on the beach for a little bit before we go and have an amazing session with doing things that you just can't do. I think it appeals to us because, you know, we're not turned off by the fact that you got to lay your canopy out and get all your ground handling happening at the top of the hill. That's not a put off because the rewards are so worth it. So.
And you again learn something new, which I believe we all really enjoy, you know, this from, you know, it's really annoying, you know, what's happening, I'm tangling up again, you know, to like, wow, I can feel it, you know, I start mastering it or I start progressing into it, you know, and I want to master that. And it's a new skill, and this new skill will contribute to my other sports. Like kite surfing contributed so much to my speed riding. And you know what it was predominantly? It was the tension in the lines. You know, when you kite and when you jump and when you master your jumping in kite surfing, your focus is, one of the focuses is on the tension of your lines, you know, at all times, that you are really connected to that kite as tight as possible. And that's also super important with speed riding, where you use your hips and your body position in order to have this few millimeters or a centimeter of more tension in the lines and feel it more direct.
Sounds fun.
And yeah.
So Chris, I'm not a particularly good skier. I haven't skied for 20 years. I'm a pretty good snowboarder. How good does the skiing have to be to speed ride?
An average, you know, intermediate level of skiing. We had guys, you know, who were so keen, skydivers, said like, nah, I haven't done any skiing, but if I do a week of skiing, will that be enough? Well, they struggled a lot, you know, and they have to put an extra effort in, and it's not perfect, but they did it too. Would I recommend it? No, you know, I would say no, do a season of skiing before you get into speed riding. And after that, we'll send you back to ski school.
Yeah. All right.
But it just, even for seasoned skiers, where lots of them got to feel like, yeah, you know, I like skiing, I like the mountain, I like the glühwein and the schnapps on the mountain ski hat. It will actually get them back to that point where they are like, nah, I don't want to go to the hut at lunchtime because I really want to work on a certain technique to improve, because that improvement will improve my speed riding. And and the difference about an amazing shot, like we have those photographers, you know, taking pictures at camps, you know, of our campers, and the way that shot looks out of this world is your skiing technique. If your skiing technique is spot on, the speed riding shot will look amazing. If your ski technique is off, it will look a little bit average.
You look off balance.
Yeah.